Hello? Okay, cool. Let's get this in. Oh god, I forgot. Oh, that's taking down this section stuff a lot. Oh, that's taking up a bunch. Oh, that's making everything slow.
That's like 24 episodes in a day.
Someone tell me if the mic is good. What is this button? What does this button do? I don't care about that. Doobly-doobly-doo. Come on, hurry. Load, you bitch. Load, you sack of dicks. About the background audio. That's gonna break the internet. Jeez, this thing is making everything slow. I have no idea if that's positive or not. What's this close button?
Yeah, we feel and able to go on.
Okay, yeah, one last thing to talk about. No, we got a couple last things to talk about. Like for our colony. So far for our colony, here's what we're taking into account. Right? We should have a location chosen. You should have a food plan with your animals and plants. How you're going to sustain your colonists and keep the colony alive. You should have a plan for the atmosphere. How you're going to create your atmosphere. Are you going to keep it going there? What are you going to have in your atmosphere? What do you have to filter out of your atmosphere? All these atmospheric things to think about. How are you going to take care of your CO2 that your colonists create? Etc.
You and you.
So the last thing we need to consider is power.
Here.
You're going to be on a barren, empty world that's probably not very hospitable to human beings. Most of what you're going to have control is going to take power to do it. There's obviously going to be power needs just for the basics like light, running computer systems and stuff like that. But most planets and the moon, wherever you ended up, almost every one of them, no matter where you go, you're going to have to drastically heat things or cool things. Right? Temperature control is going to be huge. If you have plants and animals, you're going to have lights for the plants, keep them growing. You're going to have heat and light for the animals, etc. If your colony runs out of power, they're probably not going to last very long. Yeah, oops, power outage, we're dead. Right?
Mission failed.
Ladies. So, you have to come up with a plan for how you're going to power your colony.
Well, I'm good. I like it.
Hey, come on. There it is. There we go. Okay. Oddly enough, scientists have started to research this. Imagine that. We're putting it to use right now. The International Space Station is up there in outer space. To run the International Space Station, they use approximately 100 kilowatts of power for each person on board. Now, the space station is pretty small. It's cramped. They go shooting around through little tubes. They sleep under the floor. If you've never seen a video of life on the space station, it's pretty interesting. So in that super small, compact area, it takes them 100 kilowatts of power per person to run the life support, to run the computers, to keep them alive. And they don't have to grow their own food. They don't have to take care of any animals, right? It's a tiny little tube in space that they all live in. So for our colony, it's going to be much bigger. It's going to have a lot more space. So instead of 100 kilowatts of power per person, we're going to say we need 1,000 kilowatts of power per person. And 1,000 kilowatts is otherwise known as a megawatt. When you start looking at power generation, oftentimes different power plants and stuff will be measured in megawatts of power, how much they output. So kilo means 1,000, that's how many 1,000 watts there are. Megawatt just means how many millions. That's what kilo and mega stand for. So for our 4 colonists, you're going to have to be able to generate at least 4 megawatts of power to keep them and the colony going. So let's talk about some ways to generate power. We've got a lot of different ways. On the Earth, here are some examples. If we can generate electricity using coal, gas, oil, solar, nuclear power, which technically is nuclear fission, hydrothermal. We got wind generators. There's hydrogen power plants that can generate electricity just using hydrogen and oxygen. Those are handy. And there's lots of other little ways to do it now.
All right, the bubble column is.
But now you think about going to a new world and doing this.
It's be paired with.
Is a natural gas power plant going to be very practical on another planet?
No.
Thingamabob.
No, because there's not going to be any oil or natural gas there. Because there probably has never really been life there, and that's what natural gas and oil are, right? They're the dead dinosaurs that have been buried underground and cremated into a puddle of goo. Other places haven't had that. So no, you can't go drill for oil on Mars. It's not there. All right? So, those ones are kind of out. However, some of our other ones definitely could be good opportunities on different worlds. What's practical depends on where you're at. Okay. So one thing to keep in mind, though, is something that you can consistently keep going. Like, think about wind power. This is a problem on the Earth. Wind power is great. The air moves, we get power. That's pretty
I'll have
awesome.
to fix that later.
But it's not always windy. That's why wind plants are built places where it's really windy all the time. Yeah, like in the Columbia Gorge, right? It's always windy in the gorge. Well, not always, but more often than not, there's nice strong winds there. Some planets and moons might have strong winds. I don't know. You have to look up the weather on your new world. Neptune would tear apart a wind plant. But you're right. Very windy there. Okay. The first go-to thought for most things in outer space, for good reason, is solar power. However, solar power has a major drawback. The further you get from the Earth, or the further you get from the sun, the less solar power there is. So there's a quick, easy way to calculate this. Super simple. Here's the formula. If we just said, like, imagine taking like a 1 meter solar panel, a square meter, a solar panel on the Earth, and let's just say it generates 1 unit of power. Just as an example. If we want to calculate, if we took that same 1 square meter solar panel to a different planet, the amount of power it could generate, you could calculate by doing 1 divided by the distance from the sun squared in astronomical units. Remember, the Earth is at 1 astronomical unit, right? Mars is at what? 3 point something? I don't remember. I always forget. But let's just say Mars was 3,
Useless.
just to make up a number. You can look it up if you're going to Mars. If we were at Mars, we would do 1 divided by the distance squared. So we do 1 divided by 3 squared. That'd be 9, right? So 1/9. That same solar power on Mars is only going to generate 1/9 as much power as it does on the Earth. That's a significant drop in power. Still generates power, but if you wanted the same amount of power, you would need 9 times as many, right? If you went out to Neptune, Neptune's at a radius of 30.1 astronomical units. That's 1/906th as much power. So you would need 906 solar panels on Neptune to generate the same power as 1 solar panel here on the Earth. It starts to make solar power pretty impractical when you get way out in the solar system. You need massive amounts of solar panels. So solar power is worth thinking about, but take that into consideration.
I'd rather shadow it.
Power output is probably going to be less because I think almost everybody's going further from the sun than we are. Yeah, Mercury, you could generate all kinds of solar power. Okay, other things to consider though, even with solar power, are the weather. Like Mars is famous for having dust storms that can last months. That would make solar power a little rough. If it's windy outside and there's dust in the air blocking all the solar light, solar power might not be a good idea on Mars, or at least as a permanent, like as an only solution. So, think about your planet. That's where it's helpful to find out what the weather's like. Is it windy? Does it have a thick atmosphere? Is it dusty? Is it mostly clear? Clear skies with no atmosphere? You get a lot of sunlight. Okay, so to sum up the power chain, you got to come up with a way to generate 4 megawatts of power at minimum to sustain your colony. And you should also have a backup plan. Like having at least 2 sources of power is a good idea. Solar power, like if solar power would work, let's say you go to Mars and you say, oh, if I had a solar panel, solar farm with this many square meters of solar panels, I could generate enough power. But if a dust storm whips up, what are you going to do as a backup? Okay. So, for the power generation requirements, that's what you're thinking. You got to generate 4 megawatts of power, have a backup system, figure out how much equipment you would need to generate that 4 megawatts. Finding power outputs of different electrical sources is really easy to find online. You just put up power output for hydrogen plant, power output for wind power, power output for solar panels. Boom. You'll get all kinds of easy numbers to work with. All right, this is the last requirement that we're adding into our colony. There's basically those 4 categories. You got to know where you're going, what you're going to eat, what you're going to breathe, and how you're going to generate power. This is all due on Tuesday.
Oh.
This coming Tuesday. Tuesday, we're going to do presentations on this. So it has to be like ready on Tuesday when you walk in, not Tuesday to finish it up.
Do on Tuesday.
Okay. So that gives you all day today, all day tomorrow, all day Monday, 3 full class periods to get this wrapped up.
All right.
This is where it's a good time to divide and conquer, because remember, what do you have to have all put together?
All of it?
Well, what is all of it?
I guess I'm building.
There's basically 3 things you have to actually have completed.
What?
I guess I'm
Turn
building
in
this
slash
over the weekend.
do.
Wait, what's the planet Titan like? Like, what's the ground like? So it's like ice?
I think so.
Let me check this shit out.
So you're going to have a written up paper. That's a page or 2 right up. Okay, think of it like a proposal. Here's what I'm proposing to do for my colony.
It's stone.
And that's where you're going to talk about the 4 things. Where are you going? And why did you choose that spot? Their food plan for keeping your colonists alive.
I already have this, and you guys already have the writing stuff done. Why don't we just like combine the two?
What do you mean?
Atmosphere.
Because you guys have like all the writing. You guys have all the writing stuff done, right? Like pretty much all the
Yeah,
writing
but we're
paper stuff.
different places with different plans.
And your
Sort
power
of.
plan. Okay.
Alright, I'm changing mine to the moon because it'll look cooler. It'll look better. It'll be better.
You can think of this like 4 paragraphs. Just make each
So-
one
oh,
say be a
I
paragraph.
said I'm changing mine from.
By the time
Oh,
you write up
Enceladus to the-
each
I'm
of
changing
those
mine to the
things, you
moon.
should end up at
can't get
a couple pages.
Why not? It's a planet and it's a moon.
No, you
Yeah.
can't.
You can't get the moon.
You
It didn't.
said you can't do
Oh.
them in, otherwise it wouldn't get it already.
Yeah, I see that what you're gonna say.
I should call this the physical model.
Can we just do like a poster?
Gray moons.
Like a map?
Let's see, what's a better way to word this? Schematic. Yes, remember for the model part, you can build a model if you want. You can draw a model nicely. Don't just throw some boxes down and go, they live in the box. Right? Actually draw out a plan for it. You can use a computer, be hand drawn, computer drawn, 3D model, I don't care, whatever. Do something you go like, here's a model of ours.
Yes, all moons.
And then there's the presentation part.
It's Dione.
So those are the 3 things that need to be created. The presentation will probably be 5 minutes or less. You're just gonna basically describe all those things and show the class, hey, here's what our colony looks like, here's how we're gonna feed them, here's how we're gonna. Well, okay, I said, hey, the worst presentations in the world to sit through are people standing up there just reading a paper, right?
Mhm.
Those are horrific. Don't do that. That's not gonna get you a good score. A good way to do this, especially if you have 3 or 4 people, split it up. Have one person talk about, hey, here's where we're planning on going, here's why we're going there. Boom. And one person talks for like a minute. Next person says, here's how we're gonna feed our colonists. You can make slideshows if you want. You don't have to. Visuals are always good. Having a nice big drawing of your plan would be a good thing to help you on a presentation. But yes, try to make it a little more engaging than standing there reading a paper. That's boring. Okay. So, we get the plan. We have to have a paper, a model of your colony, and present it on Tuesday. Any questions?
I'm gonna do Prometheus.
Yeah. We're making a rubric, so we'll be able to give you a rubric how we're going to score each of those parts. The rubric will have 3 parts to it: the proposal, the model, and the presentation part. So you can see what we're looking for. Well, hopefully get that to you tomorrow. But everybody know where we're at, where we're going?
Yeah.
Any questions? Okay. Good time to get in gear. You got 3 class periods to work on it, and 1 to present it. And then next week on Wednesday and Thursday, we'll probably kick back and watch a movie or something.
The Martian.
That's the plan.
The Martian.
So this is our.
Let's watch Prometheus. No, let's watch Prometheus.
Okay, get to work. Go, go.
Okay, hang on.
Final, what would it be?
Not a good thing.
Like, how badly not good. Like, what percentage of it? Yeah, what percentage of it?
We're at 31.
Alright, we got tens of miles of methane. We'll be
Oh, that's cool. That is cool.
We need to pump oxygen, so we can have filters going. Like I said yesterday, we can have into the crops and into the human and animal
I need to save this thing.
areas. can have filters, putting carbon dioxide into there.
It's Bone J schematic.
We need to have oxygen. Plus, they're nice. That's not a good option.
I have a form for you.
A form. Mark.
If I'm on my own.